Okay. There's a sci-fi TV show whose third season just started this week called Resident Alien. Any fans in the audience? Okay. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's one of my favorites. It's kind of a fish out of water story about an alien hiding among people. Like alien, yeah. He doesn't do a great job at hiding, and it's both very silly and scary, but I regularly yell at the television, "Give Alan Tudyk an Emmy." They haven't. But like any good fish out of water story, our alien friend does a lot of observing about human beings' work and the nature of humanity. He reflects on how interconnected people are and how they work together, and on his instincts to go it alone. I'm a sucker for stories like that, where the hero has to learn and experience how interconnected we all are in order to grow. It's a central metaphor and belief for me, and so when I see it coming through in fiction, I feel that resonance. The stories we tell, whether on television, to a friend, or in worship, help illustrate who we are, the metaphors that are meaningful to us, and what we believe. What we share with others lifts up our values and shares an understanding about how and why we make the choices we do. Not that every entertainment we consume is at the root of who we are, or I'm in real trouble, but how we spend our time and what we share of our own lives with others does reflect our values. What does it mean to be Unitarian Universalist? What do we believe? What are our stories? Many Unitarian Universalists have trouble articulating the theology and beliefs of the denomination and of themselves in a concise way to those who ask. And there's some good reason for that. We don't have a set of things we say about what we believe. We have a covenant and shared values and principles that guide us, but we don't have a creed and no single textual authority. Sometimes when we're explaining that to people, it can get a little wordy. I know I often wander around a little bit explaining about the history of the early Congregational Church in New England, and then I think to myself, is this what they wanted to know? Probably not. Explaining what Unitarian Universalism is in a sentence or two is what folks sometimes call an elevator speech. Maybe you have one for yourself. When folks are asking about Unitarian Universalism and or our personal beliefs, most of the time, I think they're trying to understand where in the spectrum of traditions Unitarian Universalism falls. What's our key theological idea? What do we believe and value? What is our story? There's not as much cultural shorthand for that as there might be in some better-known faith traditions. However, the new language proposed for our principles and shared values that we're considering as a denomination, within that there's the phrase, "Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values." And this might be helpful in finding a shorthand. This language reminds me of the covenant we said every week in my congregation as a kid, and some of you might have as well in past congregations. It started, "Love is the doctrine of this church, and service is its prayer." And some churches, they said, "and service is its law." That was a helpful framing for me as a kid in a town that was 95% Catholic. We didn't have a doctrine or a Nicene Creed, but I could say we were grounded in love and service. Love is the power that holds us together also echoes the language of our theologian James Luther Adams, which I come back to again and again, and you've probably heard me preach on multiple times if you've been here for that. The love of God, then, is the giving of oneself to the power that holds the world together, and that when we are tearing it apart, persuades us to come to ourselves and start on new beginnings. Gosh, there's so much in that. A metaphor of love holding the world together, and that we have the power to both tear at it and put it back together, has been a central image for me as an adult finding a way to express my beliefs. In that one phrase, Adams evokes images of love, surrender, accountability, responsibility, and care. So I invite you to keep trying on this phrase. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. That could be a transcendent love, a humanist love among beings. It's kind of flexible in its imagery. How do you hear it and understand it? Acknowledging the limitations of language and metaphor, how do you describe the transcendent, or how we are here in this moment, in these bodies, in this place, in the universe? Finding language for our experience and exploring how we make meaning is a lifetime of spiritual work, and it requires nothing but an open mind and heart, a willingness to imperfectly engage with our experience and to listen to the experience of others. Knowing ourselves is key to being able to talk with others about our faith lives, but I think that the highest hurdle to leap is our fear of judgment. Our spiritual selves can be very tender, and we may be reluctant to talk about them. But if we know ourselves, have practiced reflecting and listening to others, then we won't be someone droning on in an elevator about a question that nobody ever asked about the Church of the Standing Order. We will be thoughtful and caring people who can engage deeply about that which means most to us and can share that engagement with others. This work of exploration is not just to help us grow as individuals. If we can tell our story, describing what we believe and what we do here together, it can help make the world a better place. Unitarian Universalism can be a life-saving community, committed to radical welcome, justice work, lifting up stories of marginalized people, and offering compassion and a safe place for learning and reflection to all. We can help people of all ages explore theology and history and philosophy, the nature of humanity, and foundational human questions. We can help folks find language and tools to manage hard times and hard decisions. We can strive to be a place of hope in the face of despair. And when we can do all of that, we are at our best. We can also let bias creep into our decisions. We can not practice our best listening and decision-making. We can be flawed people who don't always act with compassion. We are an imperfect community made of imperfect people. And in each moment, we can be reminded of our connection to the infinite, to stars and galaxies, to our earth, to energy, to love, to the web of life. As you may know, most people out in the world are no longer plugged into any religious community. Now, I'm not worried about saving souls, but I am worried about saving people. There are lots of folks out there who are lonely, who need support, who are looking for community. And if we aren't the right one, we might help someone on their journey to find that community. Each of us has a story about what brought us here, and a story, maybe, of what keeps us here. We have stories about what we value and what is sacred to us. I invite us all to continue in the work of deepening our spiritual selves through reflecting on these stories and listening to the stories of others. It is this reflection that will help our community to remain engaged, healthy, and renewed. It will also help us to not only be open to other seekers, but through our practice can help us be open to ourselves and sharing our own experience with others. If you have fear about sharing your story, I invite you to reflect on that fear as well. What would it feel like to just let it go? The fear, not the story. You have within you a great capacity for love, compassion, justice, and reflection. And we would love to hear more about it. So may it be, and amen.